Here's a better way to view your competitors in business. Let me paint a picture. You're walking into a room full of people who do exactly what you do. Same industry, same customers, same goals. Most would tell you to look around and figure out how to beat them. But what if that's the wrong question? What if you asked, what can I learn from them? See, we've been taught to see competitors as threats, as if success only has one seat at the table. But the truth is, the presence of others doing great work doesn't diminish yours, it sharpens it. Your competitors aren't barriers, they're benchmarks. They show you what's possible. They highlight your blind spots. They push you to be more honest, more innovative, more intentional. When we stop trying to outdo each other and start learning from each other, business becomes more than a race, it becomes a journey of growth. So here's a better way to view your competitors. Not as people to beat, but as partners in your evolution. No. 1. Competitors should be seen as benchmarks, not threats. In business, we're often conditioned to see competitors as threats to our success, as obstacles standing between us and the top. This mindset can quickly become toxic, narrowing our focus to simply outdoing others rather than outgrowing ourselves. When we operate from a place of fear or scarcity, we tend to become reactive. We copy, we compare, we try to match pace instead of setting our own. But the moment we stop obsessing over beating others and start looking at them through the lens of insight, something powerful happens. We gain clarity, not competition. Competitors are one of the most honest sources of feedback we'll ever have. Their existence forces us to ask deeper questions. Why do people choose them? What are they doing better? What can we do differently? Not to imitate, but to differentiate. When we view them as benchmarks, we begin to see the value they offer, the gaps they fill, and the opportunities they expose within our own business. They're not just playing the same game, we're each writing our own playbook. And their moves can show us where we need to grow, evolve, or simply think bigger. This shift in perspective isn't about admiration or complacency. It's about using competitors as a mirror rather than a measuring stick. A benchmark is something we use to calibrate progress, to elevate performance, and to ground our growth in something real. It's a tool for reflection, not rivalry. Instead of asking, how do we beat them? A better question might be, what are they showing us about what's possible? Because sometimes our rivals reveal paths we never thought to take, and remind us that excellence isn't a zero-sum game. Key point note 2. Their success is not your. In a world wired for comparison, it's easy to see someone else's success and immediately question your own. We look at the awards, the headlines, the customer base, and think, why not me? But this thinking traps us in a cycle of scarcity, as if someone else's rise automatically means we've fallen behind. The truth is, success isn't finite. Just because another business is doing well doesn't mean you're doing poorly. Their momentum isn't your loss. It's simply a different chapter of the same story. People trying to do meaningful work. When we flip the script, when we view another's success as a source of inspiration rather than intimidation, everything changes. That thriving competitor, they're showing you what's possible. They're proving that customers do respond to new ideas, that innovation does pay off, that the market can reward bold thinking. If we're open, we can use their achievements to fuel our own, by asking better questions, taking smarter risks, and reconnecting with our own sense of purpose. In that way, their win becomes your wake-up call, not to copy, but to rise. This perspective also helps us move from envy to curiosity. Instead of resenting what they've built, we can study how they built it. What values are they embodying? What needs are they meeting? What emotional connection have they created with their customers? These aren't signs that you're falling behind. They're signs that you're in the presence of excellence. And excellence, when viewed through the right lens, doesn't diminish your light. It simply reminds you that your light can shine too, differently, uniquely, but just as brightly. When we allow ourselves to learn from others, especially our competitors, we open the door to a deeper kind of progress. It's easy to believe that all great ideas must come from within, that innovation means inventing something entirely new. But often the most powerful breakthroughs are sparked by observing someone else's approach and then adapting it through the lens of our own mission. Learning from others doesn't make us less original. It helps us see with wider eyes. It gives us a broader understanding of what's possible and the courage to pursue it in our own way. Competitors, whether they mean to or not, give us clues. They reveal patterns in customer behavior, shifts in industry standards, and gaps in service that we might be too close to our own work to see. Their growth might show us a better way to serve people. Their struggles might warn us of pitfalls we hadn't anticipated. This kind of learning builds not only better strategies, but also greater self-awareness. It forces us to ask, what are we really about? And are we delivering on what we claim to stand for? It's in that reflection that real innovation begins, not by replicating others, but by refining ourselves. What makes this process so powerful is that it's rooted in humility. It takes humility to say, I don't have all the answers. And even more, to look to a competitor and say, there's something I can learn here. That mindset transforms competition from a threat into a resource. It invites growth, both professionally and personally, because when we learn from others, we don't just evolve our business, we evolve the way we think, the way we lead, and the way we show up in the marketplace. And that kind of evolution is where lasting innovation lives. Key point number 4. True growth happens when you focus on evolution, not domination. There's a big difference between trying to dominate and trying to evolve. Domination is about control. It's about being the biggest, the loudest, the fastest. It's rooted in scarcity, in the belief that there's only so much success to go around. That kind of mindset might create short-term wins, but it rarely builds long-term significance. On the other hand, evolution is about becoming, growing into something stronger, wiser, and more aligned with who you are and what you stand for. It's about the long game, the internal game, the one that actually lasts. When you focus on evolution, your business becomes more than a scoreboard. It becomes a reflection of learning, adapting, and refining. You start asking different questions. What are we learning instead of what are we winning? You become more attuned to your customers, your team, your values. And over time, that leads to deeper trust, stronger culture, and more meaningful innovation. Growth isn't just about scaling up. It's about leveling up, internally and externally. It's the kind of progress that builds resilient companies, not just profitable ones. Competition based on domination creates a cycle of reaction. You're constantly looking over your shoulder, responding to someone else's moves, and trying to outpace them. But growth through evolution centers you. It keeps your focus forward, rooted in purpose, and driven by a desire to improve rather than defeat. That kind of growth is harder to measure on a quarterly report, but it's the reason some businesses don't just survive. They lead, they inspire, and they endure. So the next time you find yourself sizing up a competitor, pause. Don't rush to compare or compete. Instead, ask yourself, what are they here to teach me? Their presence isn't a threat, it's an invitation. An invitation to grow, to reflect, to evolve. Because business isn't a battlefield, it's a journey. And on that journey, your competitors don't have to be your enemies. They can be your mirrors, your motivators, sometimes even your allies. Focus less on beating them and more on becoming the kind of business that people believe in, return to, and talk about. That's where real growth lives. That's the better way forward. Thank you.